about the Are You In campaign. And as you can see from our opening slide, this is something really big. And our question for you today, and the question that Craig will be asking you in just a bit, is Are you in? I'm Janet Novinger. I'm the training coordinator for the Brain Injury Support Group Network, and I'm going to be facilitating this group today, and just in a few minutes, introducing Craig Sicilia, your speaker. Craig, could I have the next slide? Wait just a minute for that. I want you to be able to see Craig's name so you'll recognize it if you don't already know it. Craig, who's our presenter today, is the director and founder of the TBI Survivors Network, and he's a coach for the BISGN, or the Brain Injury Support Group Network. Craig is also the creator of Brain Injury Radio, and I just have to tell you that in working with him and hearing about this campaign, which he and his groups over on the east side of the state have created, I am inspired by him, and I think you will be too. There's a few things I want to share with you about our webinar today. Number one, Penny Condell, who is the founder and executive director of the Brain Energy Support Team, is in the background running things today. And you may not hear her today, but I just want you to know that she is there really managing things for us. And Penny, if you are having technical difficulties, if you have questions, if you need to chat, if you're having problems with your phone or microphones, Penny's the person in the background that will be talking with you and helping you get those things straightened out. I want you to know that you're muted at the moment, and that really is to cut down on all the background noise that can be in our various environments and through our various technologies. And later in the meeting, we're going to hope to have a great brainstorming discussion. And during that time, we will turn the muting over to you so that you can unmute yourself when you want to talk and mute yourself right back up when you are done. Also want you to be aware that we are recording this presentation, and we do that so that those folks who can't be here today can have a chance to listen and learn on their own time. And if you don't like to be recorded, we can just ask that during the times when we are speaking, when you do have the chance to speak, you have the option just not to speak so that you won't be recorded. I want to say one other thing before we move on to the next slide. In this webinar and in others that we are doing, you're going to find us using a process called the Circle Way. It's a way of facilitating and being in group together that we are so excited about. And over time, we'll be sharing the details with you. But really just to let you know today, Craig is your presenter, and he'll be doing the main facilitating of our presentation. I'm in the role of guardian today, and I will be chiming in if we're running short of time or if we need to pay attention to the process in some way or take a break. And so those are roles you'll become familiar with. I think we need a new title for the ones we do online. Penny is our technical guru or something. We'll find the right title for her or for whoever it is filling that role when we meet together online. Craig, could I have the next slide? One of the things we like to do in the Circle Way is take a moment to focus our attention. And if you are like me, you've come from a very busy day when it perhaps seemed that there was just too much to do, and I arrive here kind of running in a hurry. And so we take this time, and we're doing this in our webinars with quotes. And I want to ask you just to relax and take a couple of deep breaths and read or listen to this lovely quote by Joseph Campbell. Follow your bliss, and the universe will open doors where there were only walls. And I want to tell you, I picked this quote after hearing Craig's enthusiasm and passion about the Are You In campaign. I told him yesterday when we were practicing for this that I believed that he was going to set the world on fire, and then realized that we say that in in only the most positive way, that he is igniting hearts and moving people into action with his passion and with the passion of others that he is lining up with. And I really want to also thank all of you out there who are doing such amazing work in the brain injury community, because you are following your bliss and opening doors where people have only found walls. That includes the doors to hearts. So could I have the next slide, Craig? We always want you to have a roadmap in our webinars and our online meetings of where we are and where we're going. So I want to tell you what we hoped to accomplish today, the BIS team. We wanted to introduce you to the Are You In campaign. We want to share how you and your group can participate in this campaign. We'd like to give you ideas about how to use the campaign to increase awareness in your community about brain injury itself and specifically about your support group. Our fourth bullet, we want to empower your group's members to contribute to their communities. We want to help your members develop their leadership skills. We'd like to tell you today how this campaign can help you raise money for your group, although that's not the main purpose of the campaign. It could be a lovely little side effect of the campaign. And then we want to take time so that you can brainstorm with other facilitators on how to ignite your group's passion, just as Craig has ignited passion in the Spokane area. So next slide, please. And again, always so that you have a roadmap where we've done the welcome and introductions. We're in the middle of the agenda and objectives. We're going to talk a little bit about this webinar format and the agreements that we have when we come together in this format. Craig then will take over and talk about the Are You In campaign. And then at the end, we're going to have, I hope the last 15 or 20 minutes, we'll have time to both ask Craig questions and also as a group to brainstorm how we might bring these great ideas to our own groups. And then as with the Circle Way, we'll be closing with a bow, and we'll talk a little more about that at the end. So I think I have, yes, our agreements. So far, there's only one that we've really written down. We'll start and end on time. We really want to respect your time in that way. We know not everybody can get here on time, and we will welcome them as they come. And again, as our coming together in this format evolves over time, we'll be adding to this, and we always welcome your suggestions for other agreements that we need for this very interesting online way to be together. I think I have one more slide, Craig, before I turn it over to you. So I think when I look at the list that most of you have joined us in this forum before, and just in case you are not familiar with the GoToWebinar format, I've got a couple of illustrations up here. The whole thing is operated from a dialog box that appears on the upper right side of your screen. And I know someone out there is operating a little highlighter for me. And if you could show on the slide, there is a little orange arrow that operates the whole thing. I'll tell you, on my screen from time to time, that little dialog box just goes away, but the orange arrow stays up. And so I just click on that and my whole dialog or control box comes back. A couple other things that seem important. We will, hopefully you are hearing me with no problem over the microphones and speakers on your computer or over your phone if you've called in. But when it's time for you to add your voice to discussion, you've got a couple of options. And there is a little box that says audio. And by the audio, if there's a plus sign there and you click on it, a dialog box will appear to you. And if you're using your speaker's microphone, you would just click on the little box that says use mic and speakers. If you have called in on your phone, you would click the little box that says use telephone. And that will allow you to speak to us. There's a couple of different ways that you can communicate with us, with Craig and Penny and I. Mostly you'll be communicating with Penny. Number one, you can raise your hand, and there's a little button that's just a hand raise. And I would like for you, if you would, to look at your computer and click on the raised hands, and that's going to let me know that you know how to do that. That's just going to give me some really interesting information here. So take just a minute and raise your hand. This also gives Penny a chance to see. If you're on your phone, you can't do this, by the way, but it gives Penny a chance to see those who may not know how to raise their hands, and she can work with them. And so I'd like to tell you a couple of other things that you can do to communicate with Penny. Number one, you can always raise your hand. We'll be watching for that. Number two, a little farther down your dialog box are some words that say questions. And again, if the question has a plus sign by it, it's not open. So you click on the plus sign and a dialog box opens. And Penny you can type a question in. Penny will get that. And in the box right below it, she will answer your question. And that will just go on between you and Penny. Below the questions, and it's not on our little slide here, is a chat box. And you do the very same thing. If there's a plus sign there, it's closed, and you click on that, and your chat box opens. Right now, I'm seeing messages, some very lovely messages from Penny in my chat box. She has said hi to everybody. I'm checking the chats. She's also checking your questions, and we have a lovely little smile from Penny, which is so Penny. You can give messages to any single person here or to the group as a whole, and it's another way for your voice to be heard as we go along. If there are pertinent questions while Craig is speaking that don't seem to, it doesn't make sense to wait till the end, Penny will be sharing those out loud as Craig takes a pause. She'll be saying, Craig, Jason Weber has a question about such and such. So please know that we are always watching you and connected with you, even though your physical voices are silent right now. That said, I'm just going to ask if anybody has questions for Penny. This would be a great time for you to type them in. And we'll let Penny watch for that. And I think it's time for me to turn this over to Craig. And Craig, I have to say, I just can't wait to hear what you're going to share with us today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I hope everybody's doing good today. And so we're going to kind of get into what the RUN is. And the basic thing that we came up with is times that people have seen.
Hey, Craig.
Yes.
Craig, I'm sorry. This is Janet. Could you speak just a little louder?
Yeah, there we go. I had my microphone away. Is that better?
Thanks so much. That's perfect, Craig. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. Okay.
So anyway, it's time that our community sees us as a positive member of our community. And I'm going to kind of get into where we came up with that conclusion. But we did 8 focus groups here around over here in Eastern Washington. And I did it not just with the brain injury community, but also did it with other people with different disabilities. And I'm talking ages 14 and up. And some of the things that came out was, number one, we don't feel like we're really part of our community. And this went across the borders to all disabilities. People thought that people look at us and they don't really understand and think that we have a purpose. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the folks I work with, they really believe that they don't have a purpose, and not only do they say they don't feel they have a purpose, they live their life as purposeless. And that has to change. And as a whole, the communities felt that they were looked at as takers and have nothing to offer. And even as we would go around in our groups, people had a hard time figuring out how they are valuable. And so what we decided is in our focus groups is that we need to show, number one, that our communities, that we are valuable. But more importantly, we felt that we need to feel the value within ourselves. And the way that they thought that they could do this, and again, I'm going to get in at the end to some of the different ideas that have been thrown around, but they thought that they need to lead something positive with their communities, to educate their communities about themselves, to educate their communities about what they have to offer, but more importantly, to show themselves that they can lead the community. And when I say lead the community, they want their immediate community involved in the different projects they're doing. And so we're going to get into that here down the line. And so the main purpose of this is to lead a community project. And then number two in this thing is to do it with our communities. And meaning some of the projects that some of the folks are working on are so big that, you know, their groups, even if it's some of the larger groups where they have 30 to 50 people, they're too big of a project for them to do by themselves. And so they want to involve their community. And I'm going to get into a little more of what they described as being their communities. But the main thing they said, and this isn't anywhere on the slide, but this just came across, if they go knocking on somebody's door, you know, knock, 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 they said, you know what people think? We're going to ask them for money. That's the first thing they're going to think. And so the one thing that we've kind of decided in our focus groups, you know, if people end up donating, and which is probably going to happen, that's wonderful, but that's not the focus of this, because our communities, we decided that they expect that from us. So we want to give them something that they don't expect, that we want to give them something so positive that makes our community a such a better place, you know, whether it be in a grand scale or even individual scales, because depending on the group projects, different groups are helping their communities in different ways. And along the way, they said, we're going to create such an awareness within our communities about our groups, about our disabilities, whether it be a CT group or brain injury group. Lots of different groups around the Northwest are getting involved in this. And so, and we all have the same challenge, that we need our community to understand us. And so, again, to lead a community project. And so the object of this is that group leads the community project. And meaning that it's great that some of us go volunteer at a soup kitchen and pass out soup, but when people think, you know, who did this for the community, and it's going to go back to that soup kitchen. Or some people like to go help at humane societies, help with animals, or do food drives for different organizations, like in our area at Second Harvest. But still, that comes back. Second Harvest is doing something wonderful for the community. The Humane Society is doing something wonderful for the community. And so a real focus of folks is they wanted people to know that, hey, it's us, it's our brain injury group that's doing something wonderful for a community, or it's our high school disability group that's doing something wonderful for the community. We want the focus to come back to the persons with disabilities, that they're the ones that are contributing that. And so, you know, we put out, you know, we're not going to be volunteering as a group to do it for another organization. Not that we don't value what that other organization is doing, but the sole purpose of this project is to let the community know that we, the people with the disability, can contribute, and we can contribute in fantastic ways. And the one key thing that all the groups are looking at when they're thinking about this, what is going to make our community a better place? And as you guys know, all of us live in different communities, and our communities absolutely have different needs. And so what we want to do is we want to connect with our community. You know, once we feel connected with our community, it feels like it's part of our community. We want to not only be part of it, we want them to realize that we're part of it. So we may ask other groups and organizations to join in with some of our projects, and I'm going to get into some of that. One of our groups right now, we have about 400 volunteers signed up, and it is going to be, I'm just going to share, it's going to be an anti-graffiti day, and they're going to clean the downtown area with the local sheriff department, and they're going to spend a weekend cleaning up graffiti. That's how they felt that they could, that's what their community needed. And when we say community, like say for instance, if you live in Seattle, chances are you're not going to go do a project in Olympia, because that isn't your community. I mean, Olympia would absolutely love you for doing it, but you know, if you're living in Seattle, you want your own community to understand and appreciate what you have to offer. And so as we brainstormed, you know, through the different groups, you know, we felt, you know, who could we get involved? You know, obviously our friends, you know, our friends want to support us, our neighbors, Again, our family, we all have family. Some people are involved in churches, and we do a lot for churches. Well, how about get your church or your youth group involved with your project, because they like doing that thing too, and they would be more than willing to support you. Those of us who are lucky enough to have a job, to get our work involved, the company involved, our other people, our coworkers involved, and those of us who are in school, get our school involved, the different departments, whether it be like the ASB or there's a ton of different clubs and groups, and they like to be involved in helping the community. And not only are they helping the community, they're also helping people with disabilities create an awareness that they're valuable in their community. As well, you can get your teachers involved, and actually it's a good thing if you're working through a school to have your teacher support, because your teachers actually know a lot of the other leads or advisors to some of these other groups and are a great resource. Again, and if you're involved in, say, you have residential services, why not get your staff involved? There's a residential agency that's serving you involved. And those are just some of the ideas. We're not saying that it's limited, but when you're inviting somebody from your community to be part of it, a lot of people say that, hey, well, let's go get the mayor involved. Well, unless you actually know the mayor and he's really part of your community, not that that's not a good thing, but let's really keep our own communities involved in our project and get connected and show our, the rest of the community that we can do wonderful things. And so I'm just going to throw out some ideas, and at the end, we're going to brainstorm some more ideas. But the ones in green that you see up there, these are some of the projects that people are going to do. One of the projects is help seniors with their yards. And as an organization, we decided that we will not be going inside of people's houses, for various reasons. But if, like a senior, we can go clean up their yards, wash the outside of their windows, gather up the trash. There's lots of things we can do. But one group wants to help the elderly in their community. They said, we have, a large percentage of our community is elderly people. Another idea that was thrown out, and nobody's picked it yet in the group, but clean up some of the vacant areas that have trash and maybe drug paraphernalia. Clean it up, mow it down, maybe plant some flowers. It's another great way to get involved. And then you're going to see another green one. One of our groups had a lot donated, and they are going to create a community garden. And so obviously, their goal is to grow plants and food and share the food and plants at the end, but as well teach people how to grow the stuff, how to grow food, how to grow flowers, at the same time turning that lot into something beautiful. Another group thought that they would do a community farm, and they haven't voted on this, and they're going to share the food with the people who need it in their community. Another one said that they're going to clean up all the trash around all the bus stops in their town. Another one wants to make a park. They have their eyes on a couple lots, and while they're vacant, at least let that ugly eyesore become a community park. And again, I kind of talked about the graffiti cleanup downtown with the local police. Another community wants to put an ad in the newspaper and to assist those who would need it. And pretty open terms, hey, we have a group of people that wants to help you, and we are willing to accomplish those tasks that you're unable to, or for whatever reasons don't do it. Another group wants to offer to run errands throughout the year and again, their focus was elderly. Another one wants to offer the skills that they have available in an ad and offer it for free. And there were some outrageous skills. One person was a licensed electrician, a plumber. And another person was a licensed massage therapist, with insurance and all that. And so they wanted to offer those services to people who could use them but otherwise wouldn't afford them. Another one of our groups at a college wants to design websites for charities that can't afford it, and that's how they are feeling they're going to give back up to the community. Another group, they're pretty close to deciding on this idea, is to clean up the parks and the riverbanks in their communities to make their community a better place. And I'm just going to throw one out there. I didn't get time to put this in there, but one of the ideas that's in there is I'm working with a high school group that they live in a very, very poor community, and so they wanted to actually go out and do a food drive and distribute the food through their school to the families that are involved in their school that could benefit from having that food. And again, they haven't voted on that, but that was one of their strong ideas. But as you see in the yellow, make sure it's what your group wants. And the reason I'm saying that, you got to let them vote on it, because as an advisor of a lot of groups, if I go ahead and vote on what I think they should do, it's really not what the group wants to do, and I'm not empowering that group to follow their hearts, to let them do what they feel they want to do. And no idea is silly, no idea is stupid. If it benefits the community, that's all that matters. And believe me, if it's the group's idea, it empowers the group. So some of the ways we decided, how are we going to get the word out and promote it? So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Traumatic Brain Injury Network, which also does a number of other disability sites. First thing we'll do, we have the domain used. It's run.net. And those of you who don't know, the run.org is going to be the launch of President Obama's campaign. So not only do we have a really great name, it's really close to a site that's probably going to get a lot of hits. But so, for instance, if, say, you are North Jackson High School or the North Jackson Brain Injury Support Team, it'll be the run.net / it'll be your group's name, what you decide on. And so when you have flyers, you'll have your own web page. So when people click on that, it's going to go right to what your organization's doing. So you're going to have your own custom website designed out of this so that people can see this. We're going to have a custom flyer that we're going to be able to change around, and so we will provide you with masters and possibly, some copies, and we'll figure out so that your group has flyers to hand out to your community. We will use our email database of over 2,700 Washingtonians, and so these are different businesses and so forth, and that doesn't include the 80-some thousand people with disabilities that are out there. So we will promote this to our entire list. As we start getting the projects drawn in, Q6, at least in Spokane, and of course KXLY, they're very excited, and they said we will make sure that you get community support, you get on the news, possibly we can do a PSA in different areas, and so we will get these projects getting some media attention, especially if we get thousands of people around the Northwest or tens of thousands around the country, because we do have people in other states that are buying into this and want to do something for their community. And we're going to be able to promote through all medias in areas, because there are lots of ways to put out community things for free, and so we're definitely going to use that. We're going to use our Facebook. We have one of Washington's largest Facebook pages as well. We have our TBIWA.org, which is the most visited brain injury website in the United States. It roughly had close to 2 million visits last year. And we have 34 other sites, and we will make sure that it is linked to all of the sites. And so those are just some of the ways that we're going to hopefully help to promote this for the different groups. And so you can ask yourself, how does this benefit our members? Well, number one, it builds value to the group itself. I mean, if your community sees this group, and let's just talk a couple of, did somebody have something to say there? Oh, okay, I heard a beep. But anyway, so say you're in a group, say you have a brain injury group or a disability group, whatever it is. As your community sees this, it builds value to that group. And those times that we will be knocking on people's door, asking for that money, they're going to go, wow, we really would like to donate to your group, because we know your group is not only just a group that needs money, yours is a group that benefits our community. It's going to create this persona in people's brains that we are a group of value. And we really are. It's just we've never done anything to show our community that we're this group of value. And so not only does it do that, it builds confidence and self-worth within inside of the members. I can't tell you how many people, and over 100 people I've talked to with this. I would say closer to 200. 95% of them do not believe that they have any self-worth for their community, and that has to change. And as we show them that they have this worth, not just to themselves, but to everyone around them, it's going to build confidence within them. It's going to empower ownership to different people, because we're going to get a little more into this, but, if you're a leader, an advisor, or a facilitator, I don't know about you, I do not have the time to do this for every group. So we have to empower leaders within the groups to take ownership to different parts of that. And as you empower that ownership, again, you empower self-worth. You develop confidence. And as people see these members in the community doing these wonderful things, it's going to excite people, and that excitement is going to bring new members to all of the groups. And this is just a side effect to this. As we do this, it's going to build community awareness of who we are, what we do, and what we're capable of. And the theme of this is disabilities make communities better. And I have a little video at the end I'm going to show you. We're working on a couple more, but throughout history, people who had significant disabilities made significant contributions, and that, for some reason, for many decades, has stopped. And the fact is that our diversity of a person with a disability, we truly do enrich and make our communities better, and it's time that we believe that, so that if we don't believe it, our community is not going to believe it. And so not only do you get all those benefits to your members, but it also helps your members make the community feel like it's theirs. You know, it fits that puzzle piece. I fit into this community now. You know, when you go out and build a park, or you clean a park, or you feed the hungry, all of a sudden that community becomes your community. You know, it's been yours all along, but if you don't believe you have any value to that community, it's really hard to want to be part of it. And so it helps build relationships between members. It helps build relationships between members and their community. But most importantly, it's going to help you develop leaders within your groups. And so here's kind of a saying, and I'm going to show you this video, but throughout history, people with disabilities have changed the world as we know it. And before I even show this video, I'm going to ask everyone to think of one person with a disability who did amazing things in their community. And before I even start this, I'm going to count to 10. If everybody can just type in one person with a significant disability, if you can think of them, that did miraculous things in their community and changed the world as we know it, go ahead and write that in. That I am going to pull up a YouTube video, and the reason I'm going to pull up the YouTube video is because for some reason we can't get the audio to play through the system. But with that, I am going to share this YouTube video with you, hopefully. Whoops, I have to change my little thing here to actually pull it up. Okay. And, whoops, sorry about the little technical difficulties, but here we go. Is that showing up there for you, Janet? Hello?
Craig, I'm not seeing
Okay.
the image. I'm just seeing a blank screen.
Okay, here we go. We'll try one more time here.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, it is buffering. Give it 1 second here, guys. I'm so sorry. Looking for our sign. Raise your hand and say if you're scared, got nowhere to hide. Raise your hand and say if you've been treated now, a better way of life. Reach up and touch the sky. And so that is going to be one of the videos that we will be launching here next week, so that it'll be mass viewed, and we have 2 others in the works with different folks with different disabilities, and there's literally thousands of people with disabilities in our past who made our communities better in ways that most people don't even recognize that they did or that they had that significant disability. And so with that, here's some of the questions that we're going to ask yourselves and your groups. Do you have the time? And so Janet, I'm going to let you take this because I actually wasn't there when we did the devices, but I'm going to help go through it. Is that okay?
I'm happy to help, Craig. Oh, go ahead.
So when you guys were thinking, I know exactly what you're thinking. I know you're a facilitator and Penny's a facilitator, and I know a lot of the people out there that are listening are facilitators or advisors. Do you have the time? And not only when you think, do you have the time, how much time do you have to dedicate? And another key thing is the next thing they went down to, is your group interested? And I think that goes back to the point, it has to be the group's idea, because guess what? They're not going to be interested if it's not their idea. It's just that simple. Am I missing anything on that point?
No, that was exactly.
Okay, now here is the cool part in my head. Who in your group do you think would step up to that leadership role? And I'm here to tell you that you are going to be surprised. And because every time I come up with an idea and I have a person in mind, guess what? Somebody new steps up into a leadership role that I never even suspected would be interested in anything like that. Am I hitting that point on the head?
Absolutely right. One of the things that we really were thinking about is part of Craig's mission here is to develop leaders. And part of our thoughts are that you may already be busy and not be able to take it all on. So how do you partner and develop people in your group?
Right, and so here's another thing, and this one we've actually done a lot of discussion about in some of the groups. What does your community need? And so some of the things people came up with, we're going to go mow people's lawns and clean people's yards. So are we going to go clean up the wealthy people's yards and lawns? Because does that really help our community? And so as a group, you got to think, what does our community need? And being such a diverse communities across the West and all across the country, we have to figure out, what does our community really need? And again, you want to do it in your own personal community. Like if I'm in Spokane, chances are I'm not going to go to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and do it. I will support the Coeur d'Alene group in doing that, but they have to do it in your own community. And am I hitting that on the head, nail on the head?
Absolutely right. It again, and Craig, we really developed all these questions out of our conversation with you, and really just wanted to lead people step by step. But there's no point in doing something that someone else has already taken care of, or that your community doesn't need. It's really, how does your ability line up, your capacity line up with what the community needs? And, there's value, and Craig, you might even be able to speak to this more. There's really value in your group and its members getting out, venturing out, and finding out what the community needs. That's connections already formed.
Right, and just kind of give you guys an idea, because we are in process with some of the groups, and if it's a college brain injury group or a high school disability group, I actually gave them homework, and because the community that they want to be involved with them, I asked them to go out and ask the people that they're going to ask support, what do you think our community needs? To make sure we're not missing something bigger than what we're trying to do, something bigger or maybe even more valuable to our community that would make more sense. And so, once you figure out who you want involved in it, it doesn't hurt to ask, how do you think we could best benefit the community? And then the next question that on the RUN, what project can you create that you have the capacity to do? Like, for instance, if you're going to go fix people's plumbings and you don't have any plumbers in your group, probably not a good project, probably one that could get you in trouble. So you want to figure out what skills you have in the group, what the group's excited about, because just because they're excited about something doesn't necessarily mean they have the capabilities of doing it. So we want to be successful in this, because if they don't succeed, because even if they help one person, they're going to feel good. But if they're not able to help that one person because they lack the skills or the capacity to do it, then that's not going to create the mission either way of making them feel empowered, making them feel that pride that they need to feel, or having the community feel that that was something wonderful for the community. And then the last thing is, what other ways can we get the community to recognize that we're valuable, to recognize that what we're doing because the sole purpose of this is we want to make our community a better place. So did I hit every nail on the head there, guys?
Absolutely. Just beautifully, beautifully said, Craig.
And so with that, I know there is a lot of time because I know there's going to be tons of questions. There's going to be, and hopefully tons of ideas. I definitely can use as many ideas as I can because I'll be honest with you, with your permission, I'm going to plagiarize them and share them with the rest of the groups. And hopefully, because, just some of the ideas that it came across are just some of the ideas that are out there. And so the more ideas we have to share with one another, and I will, within the next 10 days, 2 weeks, have the RUN website all the way up with all of the ideas from all of the groups, so people can actually have a list of that. And I will make sure it's not only on the website, but in Word and PDF form as well, so that you can download it and print it.
Good.
And so with that, I guess we open it up to some questions.
Absolutely. And, I think in this format, and there are about 20 of us here, I believe, with this format, I think the easiest way to ask a question is either use your button to raise your hand, and then we'll have Penny unmute you, or you can write a question in the question box, and Penny can read it out loud. She's got some folks that are calling in and just talking with her. Or you can write something in the chat box, and we'll be monitoring all of those. And so, Craig, something I want to do just to answer your earlier question, and I don't know if you've been watching the chat box, but you asked who comes to mind when we think about people that have disabilities, and so I'm going to just read down the list if that's okay.
That'd be awesome.
Good. Penny suggested Helen Keller. I said FDR. Nikki said Albert Einstein. Some of these were in your video, right?
Right.
Penny, wait a minute. There was another. Barb shared, I think it's Christopher Reeves or Chris Reeves. Oh, Joanne shared Maddie, the young poet that was so often on the Oprah show. There was, I know up in the question box, I saw a couple. Helen Keller again is up there, so she's on our mind today. Abraham Lincoln. And Maddie again. So, we really are led by some folks who are a great example for us of how they contributed to their communities and did so with a disability. So I'm looking again to see if there's any questions coming in. And let's see, Mickey has a question, it looks like. Although that may be an old question. Craig, is there anything you want to add that you thought you might not? Oh, Richard Jackson has a question. Penny, can you unmute him, or am I able to do that? There, Richard, you're unmuted. Hi, Richard, what's your question? Richard, if you've got a question, I am not hearing you right now, and I don't know if that's our technology failing us or if you simply don't have a question. If you've got a question and want to ask it, you could also go to the question box in your dialog box and ask there, and we'll get it answered. I'm so sorry. I can hear that you're there. I can hear something, but I can't hear your voice. How about I'm going to go back and look and see if anybody else has their hand up. So again, Craig, anything you had hoped to add that you didn't have time for?
Yeah, let me think. So one of the things, some of the people that you guys mentioned, do you realize that our community don't even know that they had significant disabilities? Like Abraham Lincoln, as great a man he was, and as much as he did for civil rights in our country, people didn't realize that his disability was significant. That was forgotten over the century and plus years. And so, I see Barb on mute. So Barb has a question, I think. She can be unmuted next, I saw on there.
Let me see. Now,
Hi, Craig. This is Barb.
Hi, Barb. How are you?
I'm hanging in, doing good. I guess my main question is, since you are utilizing numerous disability groups, are we working hand in hand with them? Can we include them in our brain injury groups? I'm a bit confused about that, as the use of the puzzle pieces or a definite autism group, kind of a logo kind of thing.
Right, and actually, yeah, the puzzle pieces, I've actually kind of have adopted that into one of our new groups called our puzzle group. And because a lot of times with our brain injury, it's about fitting our pieces back together, and so that's kind of where that comes from. But back to your question, some groups, I'll just give you an example. I work with a high school transition group, and in that group, I would say I have a third of them are there because of brain injury. I would say another third of them are there because of autism, and the other third are various disabilities. So that particular group is absolutely going to work hand in hand because, you know, they already coexist hand in hand in the same classroom. Some of the other groups that are like brain injury specific, probably not. Probably they're going to do their own thing. But that doesn't mean that they won't invite, like, maybe an art in their community to be involved, you know, invite other people with disabilities, but they're going to lead it solely by themselves. Another group, it's a high school group I'm working with, and the majority of their class, again, there's a couple folks there because of brain injury, but the majority is various disabilities. And so I think we're pretty open to working with not only other disability groups, but other high school groups that just want to make their community a better place. And so what I'm saying, it comes back to what your group wants. It's organizing it, you know. What's their comfort zone? Do they want to invite other groups? Does that answer your question? I think it's group to group, what they want, what they expect.
Okay. Yeah, that answers it very well. Thank you, Craig.
You're welcome. And
Craig, we've got a question from Jason, and Jason, I'm gonna unmute you so that you can speak. Whoops, you're muted again. I wonder if someone else tried to. Jason, hi. What's your question?
Hey, this is Jason. Craig, can you hear me?
yes, I can.
Yeah, I work at an assisted living facility, and we have a TBI program there. It's an adult day health program. And what I'd like to do with those guys, because a lot of them come to my TBI support group, but what we have is we have an opportunity to sell goods, to sell, like, I know it's not much, but like candy bars, soda pops, and like toothbrushes, deodorants, so things like that to our residents. And there's over 115 residents at the where we work at the assisted living facility. So what I'd like to do, because a lot of our clients aren't ambulatory, a lot of them can't get around on their own. I would say more than half of them are in wheelchairs or use walkers and canes, so they can't get around by themselves very well. But we can raise money, and so what I'm suggesting is maybe we can raise money for some type of charity, and then with that, I guess we could vote or decide on what type of charity we would put the money to.
Yeah, and again, the RUN, it can be whatever the group decides, as long as it makes your community a better place. And I would suggest that you're making it that it's going to benefit their community, so that, you know, whatever they do is going to benefit their immediate community around them.
Right. Yeah, and maybe we could donate the money to a women's homeless shelter, or other with people with disabilities. But I'd have to do more research on to what other groups are out there. But yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do.
Awesome. Yeah, and let the group. They probably know what is important to them too. So.
Right. And it's not that hard of work, you know. It's not backbreaking where they have to go out and meet at a certain location, because a lot of people would have to be bussed out there or take the shuttle and like pulling weeds or going to a retirement center, or let's see, what do we have here? Clean up vacant areas, create community gardens, clean up trash around bus stops. I think that's great ideas, but I don't think that the people in my support group and my clients would be able to take on that type of work just because it's labor intensive. So being able to sell goods, I think, is a better fit for my people.
Yeah, and I'll just share. I'm working with several groups that we have some folks that have ambulatory difficulties or non-ambulatory, maybe in power chairs, and so the projects that group is doing, it has to be a project that empowers and includes the entire group. And so cleaning parks is a good one for them, because they can still, most of them, participate in some way or form, whether they have one of them grabbers to pick it up, or if their wheelchair is carrying around the trash cans. I mean, we're going to make it so that everybody can be involved to the level that they can. And so, but as you get more and more of the, a greater percentage of people that are non-ambulatory, that does become a more difficult task. I just have some, I don't have like a
Sure.
percentage of the group, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
You bet. And then so I'm going to go back before we take a call, because I had a couple of things up here. The first one, and it said, and I'm not sure Jim, but it said Jim asked the question, who started the RUN? And so the RUN actually came from our national advisory group, and which a couple people on here, I'm not going to share, we're up for elections again, and we have an advisory group, and we have representatives that represent other states, as well as we have a board of directors. And they, as a group, decided that, we need to show our community that we're valuable. Our community just don't get, either they think there's nothing wrong, they can't see our disability, or they think we have nothing to offer our community. And that's where it came from. And it started last year, and it took from last year to this year just to get it a process that makes sense. And I'm hoping we'll do this every year, and it'll make more sense as the years go on. But it's the conception started last year, and probably about this time in 2011, and it is just now becoming conception to becoming reality in spring and summer. And then there's one other question here I'm going to answer. This is typed in, and it says, Janice asked our group wants to educate the community about the many faces of brain injury and increase their involvement in the community. Has anyone done a wall mural in the community? Now see, that's a one. To my knowledge, I have seen wall murals downtown. Some of the homeless in my community, some of the homeless, the street kids, as you call it, they actually took under bridges and took these gangs that were doing graffiti and turned the graffiti into murals downtown. And that was a project that was done a couple of years ago. But as far as disability group, I have yet to see that. I think that's a great idea. Then I have another idea. Let's see. Lynette was interested in the timeline for this project. My thoughts, Lynette, is that it should be spring, summer, end of spring, beginning of summer, with the exception of the community farms, because they need to actually get them planted early spring. But most of them we want to keep the late spring, early summer within that 3-week period. And it can be outside of that, but the more projects we have going on at the same time during those times, I think the more chances we're going to be able to get media attention. And I think the more media attention we can get, the more attention that we can get onto the people with the disability, that they're doing these marvelous things in the community. But I don't think there's any wrong time, but I'm really trying to narrow it within a 30-day period to really get the news media involved in really promoting, what people with disabilities have to offer their communities. And I hope that answers your question there. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking. The last 2 weeks of spring, first 2 weeks of summer, somewhere like in there. But nothing is set in stone. And if it's a big enough project, in Spokane, we have some backing from KXLY and Q6. I think they'll publicize it no matter when we do it. But other communities, I think, you know, being maybe new to getting things on TV and so forth, then have a bigger struggle getting the PSA going. And not that it's still not valuable, but the more people we can get to know about what folks with disabilities are doing for the community, the better.
Craig, it's Janet. Yeah. And, you know, we only have about 5 minutes left altogether, but I was thinking it would be cool if people have ideas. So we've already heard an idea about a mural, right? So the next slide just asks people to brainstorm. And I'm just thinking, asking everybody to take a minute and think, what would be some ideas that you haven't heard today that might be good ideas for a project for a brain injury support group? And you can either raise your hand and we will unmute you, or you could type it in the chat box. So we would love to hear your ideas about projects that a brain injury support group can take on. And so I'm watching for raised hands here. I want to tell you one that's come up for our group, and we meet in this historic old building that's run by the City of Seattle's Historic Preservation Board, and it sits on several square blocks. And I was thinking that we could go to the building management and really ask if there's anything that we could do physically, right, for the grounds or the building to be our contribution. And that would keep it very local, right? That really is our community, that building, which is filled with nonprofits and used by the city. And so I think that's one idea that would keep it very local. What do you think, Craig?
Yeah, absolutely.
How about anybody else? We've never tried brainstorming in this format before. And Craig, one of the things I have to say is I see that next to some people's names, exclamation points, bright yellow exclamation points, and I don't know what that means. That's a new symbol for me that's showing up today. I could click on somebody's...
What that means is that they haven't moved their mouse very much. I mean, it shows that they're not...
Okay, and why would you move your mouse while sitting at a webinar? Okay, thank you for clearing that up. I thought there was something we might need to be attending to that we weren't. That's great. So anybody else have any ideas for something your group might want to do? Well, with just
and I do see kind of the idea is community-based parades. We do some parades here, Jana, and that is a great way to get your community to become aware. And kind of where we were with that is that we wanted to go above and beyond that. We wanted people to know that we were valuable. But if your community don't know you exist at all, that is a great start. That is a wonderful idea. The parades are good, and we've actually tied into our local parades and participated. So it's a great way, because your community does need first to know you exist. And our communities over here, they know we exist, but now we're to the point we need them to know that we're valuable is where we're at in our lives.
Yes. Hey, and I'm scanning through the question box and just saw a note from Jennifer Peliquin, who says she assisted with a bus stop mural with Bitten Foster Duggan's group. Oh, which is the first group I ever went to, and this was some years ago. And that the mural's over by REI. So Bitten ran an art project here in Seattle, an art studio for people with brain injuries. And so it has been done.
I'm going to point out, Janet, we got 1 minute.
Good enough, Craig. So you know what, if you would move on to our last slide. Folks, we will find ways to brainstorm together in the future and really look forward to that time with you. One more, Craig.
And just so everyone knows, the best way to get a hold of us is you can reach me at Craig@brainenergysupportteam.org, and that's energy, like electricity, energy supportteam.org. And Penny at that same address, Janet at that same address. Just remember, brainenergysupportteam.org.
great. So in the circle way, thank you, Craig. In the circle way, we really close by finding a way to bow to each other. And we're looking for our own unique way with this group. We're here every fourth Wednesday from 3 to 4 o'clock. Our next time together is February 22nd. I'll be talking about how to manage your own emotions as a key to your group's success. But this is our BISGN logo. Collaboration is everything. And so we thought to try for a bow today to close our meeting by recognizing that while we are separated by distance, we are connected in purpose and with our hearts and spirits, that we could each just, in the way that this picture illustrates, reach our hand into the center and in that way really acknowledge each other, bow to each other, and thank each other for this wonderful time that we've spent together. We'll hope to see you in February, folks. Thank you so very much for being here. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.